Welcome back to the News at 10. This week, Professor Chukwuma Saludo of the All Progressives Grand Alliance received his certificate for winning the Anambra governorship election. Tonight, we focus on the concerns of low voter turnout across the 21 local government areas in Anambra. Babajide Gusonwo, data and information consultant, will be our guide. Great to have you here this evening, as always.
Good evening, Amarachi.
Good evening, and thankfully the elections ended relatively peaceful, right? So they've come and they've gone. The analysis of what happened continues, and you're here to give us some of that. How then will you analyze the turnout during the election? Was the low turnout expected?
It depends on how you want to look at it, Amarachi. Today, what Nigerians are really talking about, three things regarding the Anambra election. Why was the voter turnout low? What does the future voter turnout for Osun and Ekiti State look like? And finally, how can we improve voter turnout? Those are the three things we quickly need to focus on tonight. Let's start with why was the voter turnout low? And there's an art and science towards it. Three reasons why voter turnout was low. It started from 2019 presidential election. In Anambra State, the APC, the sitting president then, scored its lowest turnout. Only 5.5% of the total votes cast in Anambra went to the APC. Relative to a 77% voter turnout that the president got in Kano State. In other words, Anambra State, since 2019, maybe even before, has been anti-government, anti-status quo, anti-the APC. That has been the fact. Only 5.5% of the total votes cast during the presidential election in 2019 went to the president, went to the sitting government. The second is Anambra State is the second smallest state in the southern region of the country. Only 1,870 square miles going by the evidence from the National Bureau of Statistics. In other words, population density is high. Families are very close. So when one family takes a decision, it's easy for that information to get to the second family, and those decisions that they make often stay together. Those first two reasons that I've given you explain the art, the background from 2019, and the small size of the state. Now let's talk about the science, voter turnout. What exactly happened? And if we take a look at the voter turnout in Anambra State, especially across the three senatorial districts, here's what the facts show. The facts in front of us clearly points out to, looking at what happened in Anambra Central, we've seen that voter turnout was 17% in Njoka, which had the highest voter turnout in the central region. If we move to Anambra North, we see that Anambra East voter turnout 15%, in Ogbaru was 5%, and Ogbaru had the highest number of registered voters. If we look at what happened in Anambra South, Aguata voter turnout of only 14%, Iela voter turnout of only 8%. The summary of these Anambra elections shows that the highest voter turnout was 17% across all the 21 local governments, and we had voter turnout of as low as 8%. In each senatorial district, voter turnout was low. Across all the local governments, voter turnout was low. And that is exactly what happened. Why was voter turnout low? We've talked about the background, we've talked about the art, and we've talked about fear. People's fear on what will happen.
Yeah, and you know there are two more elections coming up next year, Ekiti and Osun. Is the Anambra election a precursor to what to expect then?
Not just the Anambra election, Amarachi, and I'd like you to listen carefully to this. Since 2019, we've seen some trends in voter turnout. And if we take a look at the governorship elections that INEC has conducted since 2019, we'll see that voter turnout has been showing signs of declining. Here are the facts. In 2019, we saw governorship elections, Kogi, Bayelsa. Even though voter turnout was low, it was still good relative to what we've seen in other years. Kogi, Bayelsa, 39%, 56% voter turnout respectively. Edo, Ondo State, 25 and 33, voter turnout, and in Anambra, we've seen a 10% voter turnout. So if you look at even how the years have gone, as the years have moved by, citizens are less inclined to come out to vote. And that is the trend that needs to be reversed. We've seen 2019 voter turnout, Kogi, Bayelsa got worse in Edo and Ondo last year. And we've seen Anambra even significantly worse than the other 4 elections, governorship elections that INEC has conducted.
Yeah, and this affects the outcome of the election, doesn't it? So which government agency is responsible for sensitizing voters to go out and
so
cast
first,
their ballots?
We have to ask ourselves, what is the incentive for people to vote? And that is the first question government agencies need to ask themselves. There are some Nigerians that, yes, rightly, they are self-motivated to participate in elections. But what happens to those that are not self-motivated? We need to give them incentives, and that is where the Ministry of Information comes in. That is when the government even comes in. The executive government needs to fulfill promises it makes, and people also have to believe their vote counts. But in the future, we also need to understand that voter turnout, there's a next level, and that is adult participation. So in the Anambra governorship election, we've seen that only 10% of those that were registered to vote did vote.
Yeah.
But what about those adults that should vote? We see that adult voter turnout was relatively low.
Babajide, thank you again for breaking it down for us tonight. I love these conversations we have every Sunday.
The pleasure
I
is
have to
all mine,
confess.
Amarachi.
Thanks for coming.